Hi everybody, Joe Konkoly in the shop. Today we are continuing with the 1937 D-18 neck reset. Now, last time I started carving on the neck here, and in the meantime I have gotten through a couple of steps here where I have established the neck angle that I want. The straight edge, as I extend it down to the bridge there, goes just over top of the bridge, about 1/32 of an inch there. So I've got a good angle, and I have maintained a nice fit here. It is pretty close to perfect. I might have to do a couple little things to get it perfect. So now I need to solidify this neck joint, make it nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is I already cut some shim material. I prefer to use mahogany. I sand it on our thickness sander there to about 50 thousandths, and that allows me to cut little shims out of it here. Fit them for length and width in the dovetail cavity here, and you can see an angle on that one. The bottom side of that dovetail cavity angles back this way, so that kind of gets them to sit in there, and once you set them in there, they stay in there reasonably well while I'm fitting things. I have labeled them already, B and T, bass and treble, so that I know which side they go on. They are tapered, thicker here at the bottom, thinner at the top. Like I said, it starts off with 50 thousandths. I got them down now to the bottom here. It is around 27 thousandths and 20 thousandths at the top. Usually they're pretty consistent. Yeah, this one's a tad thicker at 28, 29 thousandths and 19. So they're very, very similar, but I'm using the calipers there to help me decide where to take material off, because I have to thin these out. I use this little block to create that taper, just a piece of scrap wood. And I've super glued a little piece of 30 thousandths other scrap wood on the top there. This allows me to go back to the belt sander. I put the end that I want to be thicker right up against there, the thinner end down here. That allows me to just set the shim on the belt sander, set this caul on top of it. The belt travels this way, so the belt naturally pulls that shim right in there, and I can put pressure anywhere I want on this block. Usually what I'm doing is this kind of pressure, because I want this end to be thinner. That allows me to get that process started, and then from there I just have a sanding stick. I think we've seen this before. It's just, again, a piece of scrap wood that I've shaped into a triangle on the top, and you'll notice it's about the width of these guys, which is the width of this. That allows me to get down in this dovetail cavity all the way to the bottom with this angle on both sides, and here on this. So I'm using this stick to get all these surfaces as flat and level as possible. So anyhow, I'm to that point here. Let's put the shims in, fit the dovetail, do a little of this, and a little gentle tap with the hammer here to seat this down in here as firmly as possible. So I'm pretty close here. It's pretty stiff in there, nice and tight. I can pull on. What I'm doing there is kind of wobbling that neck this way, because I'm wanting to see if I can create a little gap here at the heel or up here near the fingerboard. That would tell me if the bottom or the top of the shim need to be shaved. I'm not seated all the way in that dovetail cavity. Let's take a auto feeler gauge here. Yeah, well, this is 32 thousandths feeler gauge. It fits in there pretty stiff, so it's a little more than that. I am trying to leave it just a little bit proud like that, so when I put the clamp on it and do that final squeeze in there, it really gets in there tight. So let's give that a try. I have a caul for the fingerboard here that has slots cut out to cover a small range of scale lengths, so the frets would be a different spacing. I have an angled caul here at the back. This allows me to get a fairly square clamp clamping situation between the top and the bottom. The back is tapered from where it's thicker on the end block and narrower at the neck block. So step there like that. Got my big C-clamp here, a little padding on there in case it bumps up against the side of the guitar, which I just let it do that as I tighten it. I'm trying to see how much clamping pressure it's going to take to get that seated down in there. I'm moving it down a little bit, but it's not going to go any further without some pretty serious clamping pressure. And it's still a pretty good fit there. So I need to take just a little more off those. Now I have to decide what to take, where to take material, either off these shims, off the side of the tenon, off the side of the cavity. So what I have here from a dental supply place, articulating paper. It's just carbon paper, but I am going to fit it in the dovetail cavity and then insert the neck again, and it will help me figure out where to take some material off. Put it on the treble side in between the shim and the dovetail cavity. Tap. Should be enough. There you go. You can see the bluing from the carbon paper, articulating paper. It's covering pretty much the whole length of it. There's not a particular spot, but it's kind of centered up, like right here. It's only right in the middle there, then it spreads out. That area is pretty well covered. So it gives me an idea both on this surface and on this shim here, where I can remove some material. I'm going to use one of my chisels just to scrape those particular areas where the bluing is off this shim and be as accurate as I can. Just scrape in the middle there. Now I'm going to scrape the center of the bottom and the center of the upper area there. And then take the handy dandy sanding stick, just sort of even those scraped areas out. So this one on the base side is a little bit thicker at the bottom than this one, so I'm going to just take some material off the bottom here to chubby in the middle there. It doesn't taper evenly, so I got to take a little more material out of the middle here. There we go. Good. This one a little thick on the top of it. Take a little off and check it. Take a little off and check it again. I did not clean up the interior part of the dovetail here from the previous articulating paper. Get in there, base shim on. Slightly different look to this base shim. There is some bluing the whole length of it. It's mostly in the center. There's a fair amount right here at the bottom. I think that is an area where some material needs to come off, and here on the upper third there. Make sure everything's still nice and flat. Take a look at this and remove that bluing from the interior of the cavity. Good. right. Okay, so there we have the shims fit. I'm able to, with that reasonable clamping pressure, push the dovetail tenon of the neck into the cavity and get it the fingerboard extension flush with the top, especially right here. So the fit is quite nice. The fit is ready to go. Also, what I need to look at is this fingerboard extension. You can see that there's a small gap there on this side. Flops up and down there. This gap is just naturally there. It's around 40 thousandths thick. And I like the way the fingerboard extension extends out from there. So next step would be to make a tapered shim, 40 thousandths thick here down to 0. Actually, the 0 point is not right here, but it's pretty flush right till about right in here. So I will make a shim, an ebony shim, tapered, that I can glue to the bottom of that fingerboard extension, and then I'll trim it all up, and I should be ready to glue the neck on. And that's what we've got for you here today in the shop, fitting the shims on a dovetailed neck reset. Thanks everybody. Like and share us on Facebook, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Be safe.